Have you ever heard a sound in your house and convinced yourself it was nothing? Maybe it was the wind, or the old pipes, or just the house settling. But what if it wasn't? What if the sound was something more, same that was waiting for you to listen closely? Last winter, I moved into a new apartment. I had been through a rough year, and I was looking for a fresh start. It wasn't anything fancy, just a small one-bedroom place in an older building downtown. It had character, though, and I liked that. The kind of place with creaky wooden floors, old radiators that hissed and clanged, and windows that rattled in the wind. It was affordable, and the landlord seemed nice enough. I was told the building had been around since the 1920s and had a bit of history, which I thought was cool. It gave the place charm. I figured any odd noises were just part of living in an old building, so when things started happening, I didn't think much of it at first. The first couple of weeks were uneventful. I settled in, unpacked my things, and quickly fell into a routine. I worked from home, so I spent a lot of time in the apartment, but it felt cozy. Safe, even. That all changed on a Tuesday night. I remember it was snowing outside, the kind of heavy, silent snow that blankets everything and makes the world feel distant. I was sitting on the couch, watching TV, when I heard it. A faint tapping sound. I muted the TV and listened. At first, I thought it might be coming from one of the neighboring apartments. Maybe someone hanging a picture or knocking on the wall. But it wasn't that kind of sound. It was softer, more deliberate, like fingers gently tapping on wood. I got up, curious, and followed the sound. It seemed to be coming from one of the walls in the hallway that led to my bedroom. I stood there listening, waiting for the sound to repeat. But after a few minutes, it stopped. I shrugged it off, figuring it was just the building's pipes or something, and went back to watching TV. But over the next few days, the tapping became more frequent. It would start at random times, sometimes in the middle of the day, sometimes in the middle of the day, sometimes late at night. Always in the same spot, behind that same wall. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was more than just the house settling. There was something unnerving about it, something that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up whenever I heard it. Still, I told myself it was nothing, just part of living in an old building. I even joked with a friend about having a friendly ghost in my apartment. But then things started to get weirder. One night, about a month after I moved in, I was lying in bed, trying to fall asleep, when I heard the tapping again, only this time it was louder, closer. It wasn't coming from the hallway anymore. It was coming from the wall right next to my bed. I sat up, my heart pounding in my chest. The tapping continued steady and rhythmic, like someone was knocking on the wall just inches away from where I slept. I pressed my ear to the wall, trying to figure out what it could be, but all I heard was the tapping. And then, faintly, I heard something else. A voice. It was so soft, so faint, that I wasn't sure if I had imagined it at first. But as I strained to listen, I realized it was real. There was someone or something on the other side of the wall. The voice was muffled, like it was coming from far away, but I could hear it whispering, "Help me!" I shot out of bed, my heart racing. I flicked on the light, my eyes scanning the room for any sign of what I had just heard. The apartment was silent again, the only sound the distant hum of the radiator, but I knew what I had heard. There had been a voice inside the wall. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it had been a neighbor, or maybe I was just overly tired and had imagined the whole thing. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. I had heard it. Someone had whispered to me from inside the wall. For the next few nights, I avoided the bedroom as much as I could. I slept on the couch, leaving the TV on for comfort, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Every time I walked past the hallway, I felt a chill run down my spine, like the air itself was colder near that wall. And then one night, I heard it again. I was lying on the couch, trying to fall asleep, when the tapping started. This time, it was louder than ever. I sat up, my heart pounding, and listened. The tapping was coming from the hallway wall again, the same spot as before. But this time, there was something different. The voice was back. It was clearer now, louder. I could hear it whispering my name, over and over, in a soft, pleading tone. Please, help me. My stomach turned, and for a moment, I thought I might be sick. I didn't know what to do. Every rational part of my brain was telling me to leave, to get out of the apartment, but something else was pulling me toward the hallway. I stood up, my legs trembling beneath me, and slowly walked toward the sound. The tapping grew more frantic as I approached, the voice growing louder, more desperate. Please, help me. I'm trapped. I stopped in front of the wall, my heart racing, my mind screaming at me to run. But I couldn't. I pressed my ear to the wall, my breath shaky, and listened. The voice was coming from inside. Someone was inside the wall, trapped, pleading for help. I don't know what came over me, but in that moment, I felt an overwhelming need to help. I grabbed a hammer from the kitchen drawer and started banging on the wall, prying at the plaster, desperate to find the source of the voice. The more I dug into the wall, the more frantic the voice became. Hurry, please, I'm trapped. I tore away chunks of plaster, my hands shaking, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The voice was louder now, almost deafening, echoing through the small hallway. And then, just as I broke through to the wooden beams beneath the plaster, the voice stopped. I froze, my hands trembling, my heart pounding in my chest. The air was thick with dust, and the hole in the wall was jagged and uneven, but there was nothing inside, no one. Just empty space between the walls. I stared at the hole, my mind racing, trying to make sense of what had just happened. And then, I felt it. A cold breeze. It came from inside the wall, chilling the air around me. I backed away, my heart racing as the cold intensified, and then, from the darkness of the hole, I heard it again. But this time, the voice wasn't pleading. It was laughing. Low, cold laughter echoed from the empty space, filling the hallway, wrapping itself around me like a suffocating blanket. I dropped the hammer, my hands trembling, and ran. I didn't stop running until I was out of the building, standing in the freezing night air, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I didn't go back to the apartment that night. I didn't sleep. The next day, I called my landlord and told him I was moving out. I didn't give an explanation, didn't mention the voice or the tapping. I just said I couldn't live there anymore. I never went back to that apartment. I don't know what was in the walls or who or what was whispering to me. But sometimes late at night, when the world is quiet and the air is still, I think about that voice. And I wonder if it's still there, waiting for someone else to listen.